This uphill time trial was recorded over the weekend in Tenerife, El Rock to Escalona, aiming for around a 20-something minute time, 320 to 340 watts, as full gas as I could go, and we'll get into that in a minute. The segment starts now. My strategy initially to get over this quite steep hump was to get out the saddle, but I'm going way over my target watts, which is because in the moment I couldn't see what they were. Garmin decided to show me my virtual partner for this segment was going to be 4 times Tour de France winner Chris Froome, and that I should chase him. So rather than panic about the fact that I couldn't see my watts in the moment, the watts I wanted to see, whilst Garmin was showing me this useless information, I would just relax, get out of the saddle, get into Bertie mode, until it had stopped showing me that and I could actually see what I was doing, but obviously going way over. But yeah, this initial part is quite steep, and I can see now that my heart rate was skyrocketing way over what I wanted it to be. It should have been around 130 for this initial, starting out a 20-minute time trial that I was going to go full gas on. It should have started out around 130 to 140. And now we're going to sit back in the saddle and try and maintain 320 to 340, or just, in fact, in this initial part, before it actually ramps up, I told myself to, whatever the watts are that you see on the screen, relax through it, whatever it is, until you start to get to the steeper section. So this part is relatively flat compared to the rest of it, and so all I want to see is relaxation. That's all I want, rather than wattage. And actually I couldn't see on my Garmin screen what my beats per minute were, because it's not something that I've been training to in recent times, and I didn't want to see that on my screen. If I saw that my heart rate was as high as it was now, I probably would have gone home. We wouldn't have this footage. I wouldn't be pushing through. I probably would have gone home. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So it's probably a good job that I didn't have my heart rate on my screen, because I would have turned back. But yeah, every single day this week, I wanted to have a time trial recorded uphill that I could comment over, we could learn something about. But unfortunately, the second day that I went out, somewhere in between me getting in and out of the saddle the day before, I'd done that way too hard, and it resulted in a bruise in exactly the wrong place. And I had an excruciating pain in my ass that meant I couldn't do a time trial every single day. It would have been pointless for me to do a time trial every single day, because I would have been pushing through excruciating pain that meant I just wouldn't be able to push the watts that I should have been able to. And what is the point in how many time trials could I record talking about a pain in my ass? So after a few days, just trying to let it heal, I decided that I would just push through. And the impetus for me pushing through and actually going to do this was after having a conversation with Abdullah Zainab. We recorded a podcast together for the Cycling Goals podcast, and it inspired me enough to get out there and push through. And this is the result: me going to push around a 20-minute effort as full gas as I possibly could. But perhaps my heart rate is as a result of this injury, because already I'm pushing through pain. I have an amount of pain that I'm dealing with initially before we've even started, and I don't know, maybe my heart rate is something to do with that, because the day before I had gone out, and the footage from that shows a heart rate that was around what it should be, starting a climb like this, around 130. My max heart rate the other day, when I was pushing well over 400 watts for 6 minutes, was like, I think my max heart rate was like 160. So already we're in the 180s. Something is going wrong. Something is going very wrong. But I don't know, what could have resulted in such a high heart rate? Could it have been the pain in my arse? Could it have been the fact that this was probably one of the hotter days that I'd been here in Tenerife, and I don't know, I hadn't slept well the night before, I was dehydrated. The conditions were not right. All the will in the world was there for me to go full gas. I wanted this, but my body was saying no. But which aspect of my body was saying that? I reckon it was all these things coming together. A bit of dehydration, a bit of not sleeping so well the night before, and the pain in my arse. and I wasn't even going to upload this footage at all, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to overlay the most valuable parts from the conversation I had with Abdullah, the inspiration behind me actually getting out here. No matter how my body felt, I was going to get out here, and this was the result. No matter what the watts were, no matter what the time was. Halfway through this climb, in fact, I felt like I was grinding to a halt, and I wanted to go home. I just wanted to turn around. This footage wouldn't exist. I would have told some story to myself and to you on my Strava about why I stopped halfway up this climb, and I would have regretted that. The reason I'm so in love with the time trial is because there is no better way to learn more about yourself in a short amount of time. Just spending 5, 10, 20 minutes alone with yourself, pushing yourself on your limit, you will learn so much about yourself that you couldn't learn any other way. The value that I got from this particular time trial was to know that patience is key. That patience, as long as I'm pushing in the right direction, as long as I'm stacking frustrating time trials where my performance is not meeting my expectation, but I'm learning something from that with patience, then all I have to do is keep pushing in the right direction and enjoy the journey. And that is all I can ask of myself, all anybody can ask of themselves. And that is the fastest way to progress, because you're always going to have moments like this. There's always going to be times when your performance is never going to meet your expectation, that things aren't going to go according to plan, but it's whether you learn something from that. It's what do you take from that? If it's just frustration, then you're always going to be frustrated. But yeah, even if this inspires just one person beyond myself to push themselves a little bit further than they thought they could, then me having uploaded this would have been worthwhile. But yeah, I'm going to hand you over now to the conversation I had for the Cycling Goals podcast with Abdullah Zainab. There are many more conversations like it on the Cycling Goals podcast, which I'll leave a link to in the description below this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Enjoy. I've just woken up and I'm thinking about whether to do a time trial today, and my mind is resisting. and so I'm talking to you as the guy who's going to get me motivated to go and do what I need to do.
It's a hard thing to balance, eh?
It is, yeah.
When's the last time you did a time trial?
Last week, maybe a couple of days ago.
The time trial thing is a hard thing to navigate, man. Do you know how hard? Like, how often do you need to be doing time trials to improve? You know, it's a real hard thing to navigate. There's like a part of you that wants to do the time trial. There's a part of you that doesn't want to do the time trial. Then you think, why am I trying to do this time trial? What am I trying to prove with this time trial? Is it important for me to do this time trial? And these are all things you have to work out to fully reach your potential in the time trial. You know, like, it's crazy.
You sound like the voice in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's everyone that deals with that when they're going for a time trial.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm not really doing them to even, when I'm thinking about it, I'm not thinking about trying to improve. It's almost like it's an exercise that I like to do because it's me versus myself. And I get to, every time I do a time trial, I get to see what I'm made of. The rawest experience.
That's the kind of, it's like the curse and the blessing of the time trial, isn't it? It's so demanding. It's so rewarding, but it's so demanding, and the cost and the reward are both high.
Yeah,
like the cost of turning yourself inside out on a time trial is quite high, but the rewards also it's very rewarding. So like if you go do an all out time trial today, you know, it puts a dent in your training week. Should I say? Like if you're going to go out and try and do a crazy effort tomorrow, you might still be able to do something great, but it has a cost in terms of its effect on your training. But the reward is amazing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to throw out all reason and just go, fuck it. Like, this feels so good. But sometimes that's the best thing. You know what I mean? Because feeling good and enjoying it is more important than anything. You know, that overrides everything, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. I think I've overestimated myself though. I mean, doing short, intense time trials is something that I love to do, but you know, there is a physical limit. And I said to myself this week, I was going to do a time trial every single day. And already it is day, 3. And I've only done one. because my body just physically is saying no. And I didn't really get much sleep the last couple of nights, just tossing and turning, and it pays. You pay the toll.
That can be a sign, man. That can be a sign.
Yeah, totally. So it is what it is, and I'm going to do a time trial when I think what it is it makes me realize that you can only really do a time trial to your full potential when you want it, when you really, really want something. Because the thing is, I went to the bottom of one of the climbs that I was going to go and do a time trial up, and I just thought, I don't want this. Like, even though this is something I love to do, right now I don't love it enough to really spend the time. You have that time with the full amount of effort that warrants it. So I'm waiting for that at the moment. I'm waiting for my mind to catch up with my body, or my body to catch up with my mind.
I think the key word there is your potential. And the thing is, I think what I've experienced with it is the fitter you get, the better you get. Your shit efforts get better, obviously. Just your base level of those efforts when you don't really want to do it, but you do it anyway, they improve, but that top end, that is your best on that given day under the circumstances, that there has to be a certain kind of state of being to be able to achieve that on any day, on the day you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's things that have to be in line for you to really go to that place. Otherwise, it's going to be subpar.
Yeah. And I think it's realizing that, because, otherwise you're just going to get frustrated. It's realizing that if you don't know yourself, then you're going to get frustrated and you're never going to reach your potential, because you're just pushing against something that isn't going to let you.
Just resistance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just you resisting your own effort in an odd, weird, fucked up way. It's hard to wrap your head around, really, because you think, like, how can I be resisting my own effort? I'm the one who's trying to do it, but you can, man.
Yeah. Which is why I think it's one of the most interesting things to talk about in cycling that no one is talking about, because, there's so much to explore. It's kind of endless, because it's you versus yourself. It's as deep as you can go.
Yeah, it questions. It's like anything, man. It peels back your humanity. You know what I mean? It speaks to what it means to be a human being at the core of it. I think it's just humans. It's just anything you put a lot of fucking effort into, man. You get faced with the same dilemmas and it's really the same dilemmas and the same roadblocks, isn't it? You know what I mean? I think everything you or I have probably faced in cycling, some dude, some mason, or some sort of, I don't even know, like, some ancient Japanese pot maker has faced before, or my dad would have faced, being a mechanic, or anyone on that pursuit of that task, man, where they're just trying to get better, especially when it's a pure pursuit that you're doing within your own accord. It's different when you're at school and someone else is telling you to do it, but it's something that you're actively doing by yourself and you're trying to pursue and get better at. I mean, these lessons are something that the lessons are something that we all take away from what we do,
Yeah.
All the roadblocks we face are all the same. They're usually the same for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings me to thinking about how lonely it can be sometimes, like when you're about to go and do something that, like the short time trial, or, you're about to put yourself on the start line of the Indy Pac wheel race. It's got to be lonely, right? I mean, is it? Is it a lonely feeling?
But you know what? I've thought about it all the time, man, because it depends. It's lonely, but it's not lonely. I feel I don't know about the time trial. The time trial is a bit different, but it's kind of the same. There's a lot of overlaps. I mean, there's a lot of overlaps. They're more acute. I'm trying to think of the wording, but it's real quick when you do a time trial. Do you know what I mean? And what you face on long extended rides, what I've experienced, they're kind of a bit different, but they're kind of related. The lonely thing, I feel like I'm very lonely at the start, but as I progress, man, I feel almost less lonely than I do in real life. I have to deal with, I'm ready to deal with myself first and foremost, because, I mean, that's the most confronting bit of it all, is having to deal with yourself, man, and dealing with what comes up, because anything and everything will come up, and you can try and hide, but, man, your mind's is a creature, man. Your mind is a creature, and There's no hiding, man. It lives within you. And as long as you're alive, you can't escape. That's how it is, man. So you kind of just have to put the shoes on. And instead of walking on, eggshells this whole time, scaring that, you're kind of scared, like, I don't want to awaken the beast, man. You kind of just have to go, fuck it. You have to go head to head with it. And confront it straight away.
No,
but that's
awesome.
What's the exciting bit of it, man, is being fearless. And it lends itself into the riding, that fearlessness, in the sense of, who cares, let's go.
Yeah. Do you think cycling is like a tool in order for you to explore that, do you think?
Of course, man. I can't think of how I would explore it without cycling. Like, so cycling prepares me for life, and life prepares me for cycling. And they're like it's like, it really does, man.
Totally.
Like, daily life prepares me for cycling, but cycling also prepares me for daily life. So it definitely, it's something, it's the effort brings it out of you, man. It's the effort really, really, really brings it out of you. And for me, at least, it was like, I found that when I had the most level, I think early on when I started training, is that the times that I felt the most peace, man, the most silence, was under the most effort, under the most effort, which is kind of I think that's why a lot of people get addicted to strenuous exercise, man, is the silence that it brings within you. Because to really go to a special place, man, requires silence. There can't be no noise. And you felt that on a TT. I guarantee you felt that on a TT. When you're really going for it, it's completely silent, man. And it's some sort of universal flow, man. Like, you don't even know what's going on, man.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you really don't. When you're really on the limit, it's an undescribable feeling. And it's something that, for me, revolutionized my life, man. And I felt to myself, like, I just took a step back and thought, bro, like, this is it, man. How can I feel this feeling all the time? And unfortunately, man, I want to feel like that all the time, but it's like, what am I going to do, bro? Am I going to do, wash the dishes and try and get 180 heart rate? I can't do that shit. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, at least, I went through a stage of trying to make everything extremely strenuous because I thought the suffering would relieve the suffering I was feeling inside, but it wasn't. Understanding relieved my suffering. So I really worked out what was the things that, at least with the exercise standpoint, trying to extrapolate that feeling I was feeling when I was going for it, trying to bring that over towards my just daily life. And so I just took a step back and thought to myself, what is making me feel this type of way? What is making me feel like time doesn't even exist? Like, when you're doing a TT or you're doing an effort like that and you're really operating at a high level beyond almost the limitations of your mind, it feels like time's not even a factor for you no more. It feels like it's you've gone beyond it. It's the effort is a blink of an eye. And I love that because up until that point, I felt that time was a burden for me, So it was bringing those principles across from cycling into regular life that really helps me, man, or that I really loved about it.
And so do you think it's like we have to do these things in order to get closer to our own existence? It's like because you said you used the word primal. Whilst you're out there, you felt you were getting closer to nature. You felt primal. Yeah. Do you think we have to do these things because
we have to, man?
Yeah, because we don't have the same survival of the fittest.
We don't
anymore.
Have the same struggle, man. We don't have the same struggle. Straight up, we don't have the same struggle. Now, for me, I am the product. The difference between my mum and her mum is someone growing up in a war zone, walking across the desert with a baby, to a migration from a country, working very hard, raising a family under hardcore circumstances, to me living a great life. I mean, I'm just talking on a let's just say a financial basis. Do you know what I mean? So for a lot of us, but I'm talking for a lot of people, they're not born into any real struggle. They're born into emotional struggle. They're born into all sorts of emotional suffering. But I'm talking about just dire circumstances right from the fucking get-go. They don't have that to bring out the truth that is their life, man, or the truth of human nature, whatever you want to call it. They're not pressed for it, man. So for me, at least, I had to find something that would bring it out of me, man. Because I just felt like there was something that I couldn't work out, man. There was something I needed to address. Like, there was something going on. I just didn't know what it was, man. And something always felt off, man. No matter what, for me, something always felt off. You know what I mean? I got into shape, it felt off. Started making good money, felt off. Had a great friendship group, felt off. So there was a desire and urge with me to just to find out what was going on. And exercise really brought me closer to at least for what it means for me to be a human being, more close to something more truthful, man. So I think it's critical for people, man, because how else are you going to find it out? In the face of such struggle, man, true nature reveals itself, at least for me. You know what I mean? When shit hits the fan, truth comes out. And it's a beautiful place to be in as a human being, man.
Yeah, I think, I mean, on a very basic level, I just know that I feel more alive when I'm training, when I have a goal, and when I can, execute on that by when I'm on a volcano on my limit and time doesn't matter anymore. I feel most alive. There's something in that. I know, for sure.
It's a beautiful. There is, and it's an extremely great learning experience. It's a great learning experience for the rider, anyone partaking in it, man. All you got to do is show up and go, man. Do you know what I mean? Thanks, brother.
Enjoy it. And
you
yeah,
too, man. Again. Enjoy that TT. I want to fucking. I'm hyped for you, dude. I want to see snot flying on the road. I want to see time collapse, dude. I want to see time collapse in on itself,
dude. This is dangerous talk.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
You may never hear from me again. I've gone into another dimension.
Yeah, I'll see you when I'm dreaming, man. I'll see you when I'm dreaming.
All right, dude.
All right,
take it easy, man.
Take it easy.